My name is Ben. The most important thing about me is that I have two adorable children. And in my history, I did what I like, two things that I like: development and information security. With development, I was from writing code, a code monkey, to up to being CTO and the VP R&D of a startup product in cybersecurity. And with information security, I was from PT to head of offensive security in one of Israel's largest professional services company, which brought me to my current stage. Working in Imperva and Capsula. We do web automation, web attack protection, and we do DDoS attack mitigation, and we advanced automated attacks detection, where I work as a security research manager, which kind of merges both the things I like, some writing code, speaking here, which is a lot of fun, and of course security. That's my Twitter and my LinkedIn. I like to answer back, of course. And the opinion I'm stating, or at least some of them, are mine and not my employers. So let's start with a quick recap of the TOR network. Just to know where we're standing, how many of you have ever heard of the TOR project? Okay. How many have used it in the last year? Okay. In the last week? Okay. How many of you have used it in order to get hardcore drugs or murder for hire? Except for you. Okay, so basically, but actually this would be the next question of laymen, of people who just heard the name TOR, it would be, wow, so that's where all the child pornography is at. Let's just have a quick recap of how TOR works, but really high level. If we have the user of the TOR network, they go through an entry node, through a relay node, and to an exit node. From there, they go to the internet, or there are also hidden services that are sites within the TOR network. And basically it works like an onion, and that's why it's called the onion routing protocol, where each hop only knows its current connection. So the exit node doesn't know what the entry node is, and Bob doesn't know who Alice is. Again, this is just a very simple recap of the TOR network, and the data in here is of course encrypted up to the exit node where it's not encrypted. Of course, the TOR routing instructions are not encrypted, but of course the data, if it's HTTPS, it's also encrypted by the application protocol. So it allows a very good level of anonymity to the users of the TOR network. Most of the research is done about breaking this anonymity. They were mostly about either getting your hands on a very large number of exit nodes and then correlating the data. You can do that, for example, by attacking some of the exit nodes and bringing them down. And mostly about application layer vulnerabilities that lets you either fingerprint your client and then correlate the information, or even uncover your IP. But again, this is not the topic, but we'll just recap. So how this started? It started with a research that was published a couple of months ago. About 94% of TOR traffic is per se malicious per se, and this got us very curious about this because it I myself thought that it sounds like way too much. I use Tor. I know a lot of people who are using Tor, and it sounds a little too much. So we decided to test that. As well as this, there was another the security research group in IBM called the X-Force, and in the end of 2015, last year, they published a quarterly report, which is what security groups always do, including us. In their quarterly report, they advised organizations to block Tor because there is a steady increase in the amount of attacks coming from Tor exit nodes. So when you look at these assumptions or these statements, you're saying perhaps they're right. Right? Because if I have an organization and I know that a certain channel is bringing 94% bad traffic, I can very easily either block it or do other severe things like give a captcha to all of the traffic that goes through that entry channel. If that's Tor, then let's block Tor. 94% is a big enough impact that people would seriously consider doing that, and they actually do. However, on the other hand, and we won't get this thing finished because a lot of companies have a lot of opinions, but Facebook, for example, they have their own Onion website, and they're saying that a lot of they're getting a lot of positive traffic. I don't know if posting Facebook posts is positive, but they're seeing a lot of positive traffic. So, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. So, what is Tor? Is this Tor, like I said in the beginning, is it about hardcore drug dealing and I don't mean the recreational and good to have stuff. I'm talking about the really hardcore stuff, and about botnets for hire. That's a recap to the last talk I gave over there. Murder for hire. There've been all of these. It's very sexy to put out a headline like there's a murder for hire network in Tor where you pay someone and then they murder whoever you want. And of course, these things never happen outside of Tor, right? It's something unique. Before Tor, there were no murders for hire, no botnets, no that. Attacks for hires, child pornography. So this is some of the associations that you can hear about the Tor network when asking just, I wish it was just asking my mother what she thinks about Tor, but I recently, maybe shamefully, I'm a member in a WhatsApp group with lots of CISOs in it, and a lot of them, that's what they think as well. But we're not even talking about that, because those things are all hidden services in Tor, and that's got a lot to do with anonymity, but nothing to do with whether you, as a site owner, should block Tor exit nodes or not. Okay? That is why it's irrelevant when we're looking at bot traffic. And besides, I want to put a quote in the right context. Besides, like I said, it's not like those things never happened before Tor, and it's not like people who want to masquerade and hide. They have a lot of other options when you're sending instructions to terrorists. You don't need Tor for that. You can do that. You can achieve privacy for these sort of things with other ways as well. So I'd like to quote from the Tor frequently asked questions. Criminals can already do bad things. Since they're willing to break laws, they already have a lot of options available that provide better privacy than Tor provides. TOR aims to provide protection for ordinary people who want to follow the law. Only criminals have privacy right now, and we need to fix that. So yes, criminals could in theory use TOR, but they already have better options, and it seems unlikely that taking TOR away from the world will stop them from doing those bad things. At the same time, TOR and other privacy measures can fight identity theft, physical crimes like stalking, etc. So, again, a quick recap of TOR, what is it good for? So let's start with us being in Athens, Greece, and it's lovely here, also very hot, but I feel right at home because in Israel it's also very hot right now. But there are other places, darker places, where TOR gives people liberties that otherwise they wouldn't have, which is hard to imagine sitting in a liberal place. But of course, this happens. But let's get a little lower than that. TOR provided a lot of whistleblowers with the ability to expose corruptions without having to face consequences that people who exposes corruptions sometimes have to face with. But even getting a little lower than those high branches, TOR is useful when I, as a member of an organization, as a worker in a company, or as someone who uses the Wi-Fi in a hotel, would like to have a chat with my girlfriend without someone looking at it, or I would like to have a chat with my wife, and I wouldn't like anyone looking at the chat, or perhaps with both of them if it was possible, and I especially wouldn't want people to look at those chats. Or I would just like to buy something I wouldn't want people to see. And I think this is also missing the point, because I shouldn't say why, like making excuses why I should need privacy. Privacy, I think it's something that we all enjoy, and we don't just close the shade in our house when we're doing something bad. We like our privacy. So I think in 2016, it's not, it's something that we shouldn't really make an excuse for, but it's important to say all the things that I did in the context of TOR, because it's not just any traffic. So back to the 94% research. Again, when it sounded interesting enough, we said let's have a small research. And when I'm saying small, I mean a very small research, and we will be happy also to cooperate with academics or whatever in order to do larger researches about this, because we also have our own pool of researches about that concerns our products that we also need to do. So our research was very, very simple. As simple as it can get. So basically the to-do list was very easy. Check the percentage of attacks going to our to origin servers, to websites, from TOR exit nodes. So if we have the client, in this case it's TOR exit nodes, we are the proxy because we have a CDN and we are proxying the data. The traffic. We are the proxy. We're checking how many of these traffic, how much is attack traffic, and this is the origin, the website that's being attacked or just being visited. Then the next thing we do is to check for good URLs. It's checking how many good lead generation URLs were used outside of an attack context, of course. So by clean traffic to good URLs. And again, because we're doing it on a global level, we're not, we haven't divided it by industry to check segments to say, okay, in banking a lead is $25 and in, I don't know, data warehousing it's $100. And what not to do is to check IP reputation. Because IP reputation is tricky about TOR, and it's also tricky about other areas. because since the TOR exit nodes, you're not always getting out of the same TOR exit nodes, it keeps changing. It's like a NAT or a proxy. Because of that, if you look at IP reputation, it's enough that I do something bad today, and if let's say that the scope is a week, then all the other people in this room are doing good things for a week, but it's still marked as a bad node. So basically, looking at the attack requests, we got 19.11% attack requests, which is a lot. Okay, it's one out of for every 4 packets requested, there is one malicious packet. Okay, so that's quite a lot. You have traffic with a lot of attacks in it, and although not 94%, it's still very significant. How many of you think that we should still block this channel that delivers 20% of attack traffic? Don't be shy. I know it's the food, you're tired and everything, but okay. So it's a good thing that you don't think that it should be blocked because it has 20%, almost 20% attack requests, because that was speaking about Ireland, okay? And of course, we didn't pick China or Russia or Ukraine or Israel. We chose Ireland as somewhere in the middle to look at the traffic of TOR versus the traffic in Ireland. And I'm sure that in Ireland there are drug dealers and murder for hires and everything else, so it would be the same in terms of also blocking bad things as well. And it really fluctuates. It's really like it can be Ireland for a while because there's a botnet in there or some sort of a campaign happening in Ireland. Then it can be in France. It can be we see it moving all the time. The attack, the geographical attack map is always shifting, except for certain countries which are very stable in the first and second place. Yes.
When you talk about Ireland, you're talking about the TOR exit nodes in the sea.
No, I'm talking about Ireland. Ireland. IP addresses with geo IP of Ireland.
Okay, but what, as the target or as the...
As the source, not as the target. As the source. We're comparing this with the TOR exit node
yes,
as a source. We're looking at attacks originating from Ireland, not attacks against Ireland. Some of them are, of course, also against Ireland, targets in Ireland.
Right, so I'm confused. So Ireland, as in, you are actually looking at the exit nodes that are sitting in Ireland.
No, I'm looking at IP addresses that are sitting in Ireland, not related to TOR.
Oh,
okay. Okay. That was brought as a, to match the TOR traffic versus the Ireland traffic. So in TOR we see lots of more requests, more attack requests. We see almost half of the requests at the same time period, which was about 3 weeks in May, were attack requests. Okay, 48.53%, which is a lot, and then we wanted to refine these statistics because if I attack, for example, I do a DDoS attack, I don't send one request, I send a lot of requests. So looking at the request, and I would still, when protecting, I would just need to block that session. I wouldn't need to block each and every, effectively I would block each request, it would be easier. So it doesn't really matter, or it matters less the amount of attack requests when filtering out attack traffic. So we wanted to first look at sessions instead of requests. So in Ireland, we had 19.11% of requests being attack requests. And once we looked at sessions, it went down to about 12.5%. Okay, and then the next stage of what we did was to filter it down even more by not looking just on the top 10 attackers, because a large part of what we do is to classify clients, and we have hundreds of classified clients, both malicious and good clients, but we didn't want to make it about us. So, for example, getting rid of wget or of curl or the top 10 DDoS bots, etc., which got us to about 5.45%, and that was just like cutting the top. So it's eventually that's what we ended up with. And with TOR traffic, again, we started at 48.53% attack requests, got down to about 40% of attack sessions, because a lot of sessions are sending malicious requests. And then when also cutting down the top 10 DDoS bots and bad clients, we got down to 6.78%. Okay? So, basically what it means is that the final filtered attack sessions of TOR versus Ireland in the same time was still higher, but it was roughly the same. And again, an origin block is just part of the solution. It's just part of the protection. Every organization knows that you need a layered defense, and it's not just knowing where the attack's coming from and blocking them. It's also blocking the attack vectors, for example, which is also important. So you don't want anything, you want to get this to 0.0, right? You don't want any of the attack requests ending up with SQL injection or whatever. So we did also another test, which was basically to take all the URLs coming through from TOR exit nodes and measure the amount of lead generation website pages in these URLs. Again, it was a very simple research that we did. We just took about the top 10, like checkout.php or thank you and such, and just measured the amount. And again, I'm sure that we can cooperate with more of an academic institute to make a further really drill down on this report. And we found that about 0.77% of the requests of the URLs requested were actually for good lead generation URLs. Now, I'm not a marketing expert or a sales expert to say if 0.77% is a lot or not. But to me, at least, it's something I wouldn't give up so easily. I think that a lot of one of the problems is that a lot of people who are making these decisions view all the traffic as what would someone have to hide. Why would someone want to hide himself when he goes through my website, without thinking that people perhaps like to do all of their browsing anonymized. So the main issue here, I think, is not even TOR traffic. It's about stopping attacks at scale, and I've seen this misconception in several organizations when I was in network security. Basically, blocking geographically or blocking even by IPs is something that is often used. It's often used without thinking of the consequences. I've seen organizations that when you do a port map against that organization, they block your IP. And you're doing a SYN port map, you're just sending SYN packets. You can send spoofed SYN packet saying I come from 8.8.8.8, and they will block Google, for example. So blocking by IP can bring those results, those bad results. For example, if someone sits in the train, gets on the Wi-Fi of the train, and does a scraping against the site that blocks the IP address of anyone who does scraping against that site, they can lock out the entire NAT of that train, or a big part of it if they're using several IP addresses. So, basically I would like to give some, I think that in every talk we spoke about TOR and the TOR traffic and such, but I think that from every talk there should be some insights, a couple of insights to go out with. So first of all, what I would do, like if I had an organization, what I would do right now. First of all, I would keep track of TOR exit nodes and the traffic that they give. There's enough SIM solutions, for example, or I could throw that into my Splunk, for example, and see to check if there are any anomalies. Check if there is anything suspicious going on. Of course, not just about TOR traffic, but I would keep track on the TOR traffic. I would distinguish between clients, and there are several solutions doing it. My company is, of course, doing the best one, of course. But there are several solutions, but even doing this in a bad way, let's say, in not a fine grain, hell, even looking at user agents that we all know that you can forge user agents, or even looking at Google bots, user agents that are not sent from Google IPs, or like the stop bad clients 101 things. Even not being fine-grained about it, but you should do that. You should either find a solution to that, or even do it. At least you will narrow down the attack surface and also save yourself some bandwidth along the way. And what I would do is to reevaluate the assumptions I make based on IPs in general. So if you're blocking IPs because they're doing port scanning, SIM-based port scanning, for example, that's a bad thing. You should stop it. Or if you're blocking IPs because, well, if you're doing it, reevaluate. I'm not saying stop. In some cases, it's the only way. But when you're doing it, make sure it's for a certain amount of time. Don't do it forever. And try not to do it in a very broad way. So the conclusions again are: there are TOR attacks. There are attacks coming out of TOR exit nodes, and their percentage is higher than the percentage of those coming from normal geographical locations. However, when we filter it down to the traffic that matters, which is the traffic that we can easily differentiate good versus bad, it's not by a lot, and there's lots of quality traffic going from the TOR network as well, so that you cannot ignore by saying that all TOR traffic is bad. And again, my suggestions to you would be GGG, okay? If you know what I mean. To be granular, like try not to block entire countries, then try not to block IP addresses, especially if they might be NATs or proxies. Try to be gradient when you're performing things that can disrupt traffic to a website, for example. I can say that we have raising challenges. So you try to be as passive as possible, so you don't disrupt the traffic with waiting screens and captchas before you must do these things. And again, be gentle. it's more the same, but I want it to be a GGG. So with that, I conclude. אפשריסט או פולי? Thank you very much.